Okay, so good morning to everyone. Now, in the last class, we have discussed about the event handling and we have started the event handling code in Java, that how it can be done. And we have said that there the AWT components are present, and each AWT components, that is what if this AWT components generate some events, then it will be handled by a interface. The interface which is present, it will be handled by that. Now if the event is generated by the button, if the event that is generated by the AWT component button, then it can be handled by the action listener, which we have seen already. Now, the most mainly here many types of interfaces are present, but the most uses interface which will handle the event handling code, we will discuss that. The four types are the maximum uses of these four types of interface. That is add action listener interface. Action listener interface if it is the event generated by the button. The second one is the item listener. This item listener interface will be handled the event handling, the which is generated by the radio button, list, choice, checkbox, etc. Like this checkbox, choice, radio button, list, each and every AWT components, this AWT components generate some event, then it will be handled by the item listener interface. Then it will be handled by the item listener interface. Now we already know that interface is what interface. In the interface there will be the collection of abstract methods, because in interface we have abstract method present. Now this item listener interface, it is already predefined in Java, and it will handle the event generated by this radio button, list, choice, checkbox, AWT controls, etc. AWT components generate event, then it will be handled by this item listener interface. And this item listener interface contains abstract method. Now what is that abstract method name? Abstract method, we already discussed that abstract method means that method doesn't have the method definition. That means that method doesn't have the body, only the method is given. That is the abstract method. Now in this item listener interface there is the abstract method present. This abstract method name is what? Public void. Public void item state change, and as a parameter item event class object, item event IEE. IE, this is what, this is the abstract method that is present in this item listener interface. And we already know that if we have to do what, we have to override that abstract method in the child class. So this is what this public void item state changed, and this method has a parameter item event class object. This is the method that is present in the item listener interface. So we have to override when we will do the programming, and this using the item listener interface, then that time what we have to do, we have to override this particular method in our program. In this method we should override in our program. Now in this example you see I am not showing the total program here, but the code that is necessary. We know that there is a user code and there is a event handling code. That means normal UI code. Normal UI code is what? The definition. Already we have seen that in the AWT components programming, that normal definition, that how we can add the components, AWT components in our program. That is a one part. And another part is the event handling code. This event handling code is what? this event handling code, the method will be override. We will override the method in this, what we call the event handling code. Now that is why you are seeing the two part. One is the user interface code, that is the definition, that what we already seen about how the checkbox can be associated in the program, that is the thing. And another part is what, another part will be the event handling code. The event handling code will be there. So that's why, let's say we are saying that any checkbox is there, and if we press that checkbox, then an event will be generated, and that event will be handled by the item listener interface. So then how we can write? First, what we have to do? First, each and everything, that means what, we have to create the checkbox class object first in our program. So that's why you are seeing checkbox C1 equal to new checkbox. That means what? Checkbox class object. Please mute yourself. Neha, please mute yourself. Okay, so that means what? That means we have to create the checkbox class object first. So that's why we are seeing checkbox C1 equal to new checkbox. And as a parameter, it is already discussed that this checkbox takes 3 parameters. What is that? Means the checkbox will be created, its name will be subj. So that means the checkbox will be create, that checkbox name will be subj. And null means what? It is not associated in the checkbox group. That means it is a single, it is single. So if it is associated in the checkbox group, then that checkbox group name should be mentioned. But here we are only creating a checkbox. That's why it is not associated in the checkbox group. And that's why we are saying null. And it is false. We are saying false means what? If you remember, I have discussed that true and false, there are two conditions. That if the checkbox is checked, that means like this, a checkbox will be created, and this checkbox name will be only sub j, and it is not associated any checkbox group. It is not associated in checkbox group. And here it is false. That means it is unchecked. It is not checked. If we use the true, then it will be checked. Then it will be checked. So that means like this, a checkbox we created first. And after that, we want that this checkbox will create some event. So that means our next process will be what? The next process will be registration of the item listener with the checkbox, because we want that this, if we press that checkbox, then an event will be generated. Now that means what? We have to make the association between the interface which is handling the item generated by the event generated by the checkbox. So that means, that's why you see with the checkbox object, C1, here we are using C1 as the checkbox object. So C1 dot add item listener. That means now we are doing that what? That this, if it is pressed, then our checkbox will create some event. So that means our item listener interface will handle that. So for this, we have to add the item listener with the checkbox. And that is done using what? Using the checkbox object. We call the add item listener. And as a parameter, we are passing this. This means what? This means the current instance. Pass the current instance using this registration. So that means what will happen? The checkbox C1, this checkbox C1 will be added with the add item listener. So that means our checkbox C1, this checkbox will be added with the item listener. So that means if any checkbox is pressed or we can do anything, then this will generate an event and it will be handled by the item listener. So that's why this registration process is necessary. Then in the event handling code, what we have to do in the event handling code? We have to override the method. Now that is why you see public void item state change item event class object, and inside of it, if c1 dot get state, c1 means what? Checkbox. This checkbox get state, we are calling a method named get state, and this get state method is present in the item event class. This get state method we are calling with whom object? We are calling with the object of the checkbox. So that means it will check the state of the checkbox, that this method will return true if the checkbox is selected. That means this method will do what? We are associating it with the checkbox object. So that means if this method will check the checkbox state, that if it is checked, then it will be returned true. If it is unchecked, then it will be returned false. And here you can write any statement. This is upon you that what you will write the statements. You will write like that printf statement or system.out.printlf statement. You write anything, the statement you can write. But here this method will do what? This method will return true if the checkbox is selected, because we are calling it with the checkbox object. So that means if checkbox will checked, then it will return true. If checkbox is unchecked, it will return false. Okay, so this is the item listener example. Okay, clear?
Yes, sir.
Clear to everyone? It is clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then the next listener we will see. The next listener is the key listener. Key listener example. Key listener is what? If any event is generated by the keyboard, if any event, that means when we press any key, then an event is generated. Let's say after pressing the key, let's say any event is generated, then this event will be handled by the key listener. This event will be handled by the key listener interface. Now same as that what we have seen for the item listener interface, same as that for key listener interface also, we have in that some methods are present. The abstract methods are present, and that abstract method, what we have to do, that abstract method we have to override. We have to override in our child class. Now here already in the action listener and item listener, we have seen that only one method, abstract method is present. In that case, only one abstract method we have seen. But here in the key listener, we have three types, three methods, three abstract methods present. What are the three abstract method? The three abstract method present is public void key pressed, and as a parameter key event ke, means key event class object. Then second one is public void key typed, and as a parameter key event class object. Then public void key released, and as a parameter key event class object. Key event ke, this is the object. So these three abstract methods are present. Now this method will do what? Key, if any key pressed, then this method we will override. If this key is typed, then we will override this method. And if it is key released, if the key is released, then we will call this method. But one thing you should remember, that if there is a concept that in the interface the abstract methods are present. Now here are our three methods. There are the three abstract methods we have present in this key listener interface. Now when we will override that, if we do not have necessary for, let's say we only want to, that only in our program we only want this method, that means public void key pressed. this method we want that in our program, what we have written in that program, this method is only necessary. The other two methods are not necessary for my program. Then what we have to do, in override case, each and every method that is abstract present in the interface, if we override that, then all of the methods should be override. That means here in the case there are three methods present. When we will override, then these three methods we will override. Though it is necessary or not that we do not require this two method. Let's say we do not require this method, then we will not override. It is not the case. The case is if it is necessary or not, we have to override all the method. Override all the method that is present in the interface. Then what we will do, if it is not necessary for me, we will simply give the blank definition. That means we will create the body, but inside of it we will not write anything. Inside of it we will not write anything. So what will be this? Let's using an example. That means same process, same example I will show you. That here also the user interface code, I will say the user interface code and the event handling code. Now the key listener, this is handled by the event generated from the keys from the keyboard. Then what we have to do, first thing we have to do, we have to create a frame. That means frame should be registered. So I am not showing that how we can, already we have discussed that how we can associate the frame, that's like that frame, then frame object equal to new frame. Like this we will create the frame. And after creating the frame, what we have to do, this same process, that here also we want that this frame is what, if in this frame the keyboard is there, then it will generate the event. So that means we have to add the interface. We have to add the interface with the object of the frame class. So that's why you see we have done that. F is what? This is the object of the frame class. So with this frame class object, we are adding the key listener, because now any event will be generated by the keyboard. It will be handled by the key listener. So that's why we are adding, and this keyboard is present in the frame. So that means what? With the frame, we have to add the key listener. And this is what? This is the current reference. What we have discussed, that this is what? This will be the pass the current instance. This will pass the current instance using the registration. That means now what will happen? The frame F is added with the key listener. Frame F will be added with the key listener. So this is the part of the user interface code. Next part will be what? The next part will be our event handling code. Now I have already said that if there is a three methods and we have to override this all three methods, but let's say we do not require all the methods now, because in our program what we have written, we do not require all the methods to be override. In that case, what we will do, because in the interface concept it is required or not, all the methods should be override. So that's why you see when we override that method, first method, public void key type, we only given two brackets. That means this is the blank definition. Then public void key released. This method is also not required in our program. Let's say in that case we will do what? In that case also we will give the blank definition. And let's say the method that we require, in that case inside of it, let's say this method we require. So that's why we are giving the method definition here. If it is not required, then give the blank definition. And inside of it already KE. So KE is what? K is the key event class object. So KE, which we called, is the key event class object. And with this key event class object, we are calling get key char. This get key char is present in the key event class object. Is this method? This is present in the key event class object. So method present in the key event class. So key event class has this method present, that is get key char. And what this method do? This method will return that the key is pressed or not. That means this method will do what? This method will return. If the key is pressed, then this method will return that the key is pressed, or the true false condition it will return. So get key char method that is present in the key event class. So we are calling that method with the key event class object, and get key char method will do what? It will return the key which is pressed. So this is the key listener example. Then the next listener that is most widely used, that is the mouse motion listener. The next is the mouse motion listener. Now from name it is suggested, now you can say from name that what this interface will handle whom? The event generated by the mouse. The event generated by the mouse will be handled by the mouse motion listener. But one thing you should mind, that this mouse have two interface. One is mouse motion listener, another one is the mouse listener. So two interface are present for the mouse. So first I will discuss the mouse motion listener, then we will discuss the mouse listener. So mainly this mouse motion listener is widely used. Mouse listener, we do not use that, but there is also some methods present for that. But mainly this mouse motion listener we widely used. Now the name saying that mouse motion listener, that means any event that is generated by the mouse will be handled by the mouse motion listener interface. And this mouse motion listener interface is also contain two methods. That is what the two methods that it contains. One is the public void mouse moved. Two abstract method it contains. One is the public void mouse moved, and that as the parameter mouse motion event class object. And another method is what? Another abstract method that is present in this mouse motion listener. That is the mouse motion listener interface. That is the public void mouse dragged. And as a parameter of it is the mouse event class object. So this two abstract method is present in the mouse motion listener. Now already discussed that if we require only one method, when we have to override both method. But if it is required or not, it is upon to you that you will override. But the case suggests that you have to override. Now one method, let's say one method you require, other method you have not required. In that case, what you will do? You will give the blank definition of that method which is not required for you. But you have to override that.
Sir, why we have to do that?
This is the concept of the interface, that the interface suggests that if it is required or not, if it is required for you or not, you have to override, because all the method that is present in the interface are abstract methods. Now if you give the blank definition, that means what? That means the child class will know that this is not the abstract method, because abstract method doesn't have the method definition. This concept is given by the interface. That interface is required or not, that is the disadvantage, and that's why the next process is came, that is the layout manager. You will see that. That's why the this is for this disadvantage, the next process came. We will discuss that, because this is the disadvantage of it, that whether it is required or not, you have to give the blank definition. So this is the disadvantage of the item listener. You are taking the right, because all the method we should override in the interface. So that's why for this disadvantage, we came in the layout manager. We completely use the layout manager for that. We will discuss that. That's, but only know that this is what this is already said, that if any method that is present in the interface, whether you require or not, you have to give it the blank definition, because normal class doesn't contain any abstract method. Normal class will not contain any abstract method. So this is the, that's why we have to override the method. If it is required or not, give the blank definition. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Hello, sir.
Hmm.
Sir, in key press method, you have not passed any parameter.
Public void key press.
Is it right?
Yes. That is the mistake. You can write that key event. Key. I am not written that key event K. You can write that. It is not the, I have mistaken it, but you will have write that key event K, because that is the method name. Okay. I have not write. You can write that.
Okay.
Then mouse motion listener, same process. First we have to create what? First we have to create the frame. What we have seen for the key listener, same process. First we have to create the frame. So I have not written that frame class object you have to create, that is using the frame f equal to new frame. Like this, you will create the frame class object. Then same process, you have to add that. Same process, you have to add the mouse motion listener, like how we have added the key listener. Same process, and as a parameter of it, that this will pass the current instance. So that's why you have to add this mouse motion listener with the frame. Now here also we are using that one event. This is mouse moved, one event. We are doing what? We are overriding that method. And the other method, the mouse dragged, we didn't require, so we are giving that as a blank definition, for the other method. Now inside of it, mouse motion moved as a parameter mouse event me. This is the mouse event class object, and here inside of it we are doing int x equal to me dot get x. Me is what? Me is the mouse motion mouse event class object, and with this object we are calling get x method. Now what this method do? This get x method is present in the mouse event. This mouse event class, inside of it, this get x method is present. And this method do what? This method return the coordinate position. Now here x, we are specifying x. So specifying x means what? Specifying x means we have to x coordinate, that means the positions of the mouse of the x coordinate position we have to say. So the method will return the current x coordinate, the x coordinate position of the mouse. And get y, if we use the get y, this method will return the current y coordinate position of the mouse. So, and that position is the integer, so that's why we are storing it into the integer value. So that's how. Now there is other methods are also present, but this is a simple example I have shown. So that's why this method is present for that. And this I have already missed here, the mouse event any should be written. And this method is what? This method we didn't require, because in this programming, let's say we are giving this as the blank definition. So that means this method we do not in our program that this method had no usage. So that's why we are giving it as a blank definition. And there I have mistakenly not written that will be the mouse event me, because that our this is method is the mouse move dragged mouse event me. So this is for the mouse motion listener. And the other listener, the other one listener that is present for the mouse, but it is not so much widely used. But for your purpose, I am saying that mouse listener, that name is the mouse listener, and it has a same methods present. In that method, we have 5 methods present. We have 5 methods present in that interface. What are they? Public void mouse pressed, public void mouse pressed, and as a parameter mouse event class object. Next is what? Public void mouse clicked, and as a parameter mouse event me. Then third is what? Public void mouse released, and as a parameter mouse event class object. That is mouse event me. Let's say that is mouse event me. Then the mouse entered. The mouse entered is another method, and as a parameter mouse event class object. And the fifth one is the mouse excited, and as a parameter mouse event class object me. This is what these the 5 methods are there, but this is not widely used. Mainly these are the widely used, so that's why I didn't show you that. But these are the 5 methods, that is what. And same process, we have to override that method in the our event handling code. Now this event handling has a disadvantage. The disadvantage, what that time I am saying that this is disadvantage, that whether you require or not, all the methods should be override. This is the problem. This is the problem and the disadvantage of the listener use. So for that reason, what we are doing, we are using the layout manager. We are using the layout manager, and there is a called layout manager class. There is a layout manager class like this present. That is not the interface. That is the class layout manager. And this layout manager, if you remember, in the first time when I am discussing about the AWT components, in that time I have written a method set layout. If you remember, that time I have written the method name set layout. This set layout method we will use in the layout manager also, because we have 4 types of layout. We have 4 types of layout. What are this? First one is the border layout manager. Next one is the card layout manager. That means what? Our layout is what? That this will be look like this. That means our frame will be look like this. So this layout manager, if in the frame case, first programming I have shown, in that frame we have used that set layout, and as a parameter we are sending null in that time. So if we send null, then the default layout will be chosen. The default layout will be chosen. So we have 4 types of layout. We have 4 types of layout. First one is the border layout manager. Second one is the our card layout manager. Third one is the flow layout. Third one is the flow layout manager. And fourth one is the grid layout manager. These are the layout that our frame will be look like this, because we set our frame with the frame object. We always set the layout because our frame will look like this. we want. And if in that time I have sent a null, so null means what? Default layout is chosen. And our default layout that we consider among these four, the default layout we consider is the flow layout. If you didn't write anything, then also what will happen? Automatically the layout will be the flow layout. That's why when we are saying the null, in that case the flow layout is chosen. So in the next class, in tomorrow, I think your class will be on tomorrow. So in tomorrow I will discuss this about the layout. These four layouts we will discuss. Okay, so till now anyone has any question? It is clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So then this much. In the next class, we will discuss about that. So thank you everyone. I am ending the session.
Thank you, sir.